So right now you've got a deal you think is dying. The champion loved it, the demo landed, they told you the budget was there, and then nothing. No reply to the last two emails. The meeting got pushed, and when they do respond, it's one line. We're still working on it internally. So you do what almost every seller does. I did myself. You assume it's slipping away. So you start discounting. You send the just checking in email. You try to bypass your champion. You quietly move it to the next quarter. But here's the problem: the deal is almost certainly not dead, it's politically stuck. And these are two different problems. And the move that save a stuck deal are the exact move that most sellers never make because they're too busy thinking that it's dead. So, in the next few minutes, I'll show you how to tell the difference, why this happens on nearly every large deal, and exactly how to get a stuck deal moving again without discounting, without begging, and without burning your champion. So, stay with me because the most important part, the four moves that actually unstick it, come near the end. And they're useless if you skip the diagnosis first. So let me say something that took me years to fully accept. In complex B2B sales, the hard part was never convincing the buyer that your solution is good. By the time you've reached proposal stage, they usually already believe you. The hard part is what happens inside their organization after they believe you. Because a yes from your champion is not a yes from the company. It's a yes from one person who now has to go and sell your deal to people you've never met: a CFO, a VP, procurement lead, a skeptical peer on another department. And that internal sale, it's purely politics. It's budget, territory, risk, who gets credit, who gets blamed, whose priority gets bumped to make room for yours. And when a deal goes silent, sellers read it like a commercial problem. Oh, they don't see the value. The price is too high. They found a competitor. So they respond with commercial tools: discount, features, proof, let's do another demo. But the real problem is political. And every one of these moves does usually nothing, or they make the situation worse. Because you can't discount your way out of an internal war. You can't feature dump your way past the CFO. Your first skill is to diagnose. Is it dead or is it stuck? So let's make it concrete. Because there are three signals that tell you which one you've got. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. And later, I'll show you the three exact places these deals get jammed. One of them is the reason most lost deals were never actually lost. A dead deal is something specific. The need went away, the priority dropped, they chose someone else, or they never really had the problem you solve. The interest is gone. They're not into you. A politically stuck deal still has the interest, but it's trapped behind a person, a process, or fear that has nothing to do with you. And this is how you tell them apart. So watch the signal and not your own anxiety and fear. So signal one is the language. A dead deal sounds final. We've decided to go in a different direction. This is not a priority right now. And stuck deal sounds fake and internal. We're still working through it on our end, or we are waiting on a few people, or it's with finance. So it's vague and internal, almost means political, not that. Nobody says it's with finance when the deal is killed. Signal two is that your champion's behavior. In a dead deal, the champion disengages. They send short replies, no energy, no defending you. When it's stuck, the champion goes quiet because they're stuck too. They're not avoiding you, they're embarrassed that they don't have an answer because the deal is jammed somewhere above them or next to them and they don't know how to unjam it. And that difference is critical. A quiet champion isn't always a lost champion. Sometimes just a champion who lost a fight you didn't even know that was happening. A signal three is where it's stalled. You need to map it. Did the deal go cold right after a specific event, right after it went to finance, right after a new VP joined, or when a new project came up? A deal that dies usually dies during your conversations. A deal gets stuck after it leaves the room you were in, the moment it entered a part of the org you have no visibility into. And so the filter you need to apply is: if the interest was real and the stall happened internally, after the value was accepted, you're not looking at a dead deal. You're looking at a political one. And political deals can be revived. Okay, so you've diagnosed is that stuck. Not dead. Good. But stuck is not an action. You can't fix stuck. You have to know where it's jammed. And politically stuck deals almost always jam in one of three places. And the third one might be the most common and the most invisible one. So the first one is the CFO or the money gate. Your champion sold the value, but somewhere up the chain, somewhere is looking at this as it's not worth it. Or is it worth it right now compared to everything else we could be spending our time on, given what this quarter looks like? That's a different question. And your champion usually is not equipped to answer it. They can talk about your product, what they want to do with it, but they can talk about payback period, cash flow impact, or risk in the language a CFO respects. And so the signal is with finance or a sudden new question about ROI and contract terms later in the cycle. The second is the hidden stakeholder. There's someone with influence you've never spoken to, a period champion, a department head, a technical lead, and they either were not consulted or they have a quiet objection. And maybe your solution touches their territory. Maybe they prefer the competitor. Maybe they just don't want one more thing to manage. They may never say a word to you. They'll just slow things down from the inside. The signal, the deal stalls right after it went around to the team, or a vague reference to a few people who have concerns. Third is risk and blame, and this one is the most underrated. Someone in the chain is not worried about whether your solution works, they're worried about what happens to them if it doesn't. And in big organization, the downside of a failed project lands on a specific person's career. So even a great deal can freeze because nobody wants to be the name attached to it if it goes sideways. And so the signal is endless requests for more proof, more references, more pilots, and long after the value is obvious. That's not a doubt about you, but that's someone protecting themselves. And if you look at those three things, you notice a very important element. So none of those three are about price or product, which is the usual toolkit you use. And it's really about what is happening behind closed doors. So if discounting and chasing don't work, what does work? Well, I think this is the part you came for. So four moves in order, check it. So how do you get it moving? Move one, you name the silence without accusing. Stop sending the just checking in email. It shows weakness and gives the buyer nothing to respond to. Instead, give your champion permission to tell you the truth about the internal situation. It could be something like, well, in my experience, when a deal goes quiet at this stage, it's rarely about a solution. It's usually that it hits some kind of internal hurdle, which is normal. If that's what's happening here, I'd rather help you navigate it than keep you chasing it. What's actually going on inside? And what this message does is three things: it removes the shame, it reframes you from vendor chasing a signature to an advisor who's seen this before. And it invites a real story. 8 times out of 10, your champion will tell you exactly where the deal is stuck because you just made it safe to. Second move, you need to arm your champion to sell internally. And a mistake that almost everyone makes is that they treat the champion like a buyer. Well, actually, they transition into a seller. They sell on your behalf in a room we'll never enter, to an audience we'll never meet, and we send them in with nothing. So we build them the internal case, not your sales deck, their business case. A one-page summary in the language of whoever they have to convince. If it's a CFO, payback, cost of doing nothing, risk reduction. If it's a peer, how it makes their life easier, not harder. If it's the risk-averse executive, how other companies de-risk the rollout. Make your champion look smart and prepared in front of their boss and peers. If you do that, they'll fight for you when you're not in the room, which is the only place the deal gets won now. Those first two moves get the truth and prepare your champion, but sometimes the deal is jammed somewhere your champion can't reach. And that's where move three comes in, and it's the one people get dangerously wrong. Move three is to get to the real decision maker, through the champion, not around them. If the deal is jammed above your champion, you eventually need access to the person holding it up. But going around your champion will burn them and your deal. So you need to go through them. So it sounds like the real conversation needs to happen with CFO, the VP. What if we set up a short session, you, me, and them, so I can answer the risk and finance questions directly and take that weight off you. So you're not undermining your champion, you're rescuing them from a fight they're losing alone. Most will say yes because you just offer to carry the hardest part. And final move four. You need to change the cost of inaction because the politically stuck deals, they stay stuck because for the decision maker, doing nothing feels safe. There is no spend, no risk, no blame. Your job is to make the status quo the riskier choice. Honestly, not with fake urgency. So, what is the cost of waiting another 2 quarters? The problem they admitted they had. What does it compound into? What does a competitor of theirs gain in that time? And you're not pressuring them. You're making the invisible cost of delay visible. Because right now, the only visible cost is the one with your price tag on it. So let's bring it back. When a deal goes silent, your instinct will scream that it's dying and that you should discount, chase, and hope. Resist that. Most large deals don't die from a no, they die from a silence that nobody managed. So remember the diagnosis. Dead deals lose the interest, stuck deals keep the interest but trap it behind a person, a process, or a fear. So you need to find where it's jammed the money gate, the hidden stakeholder, the fear of blame, and then you make your move. You name the silence, you arm your champion to sell internally, you get to the real decision maker with your champion, and you make doing nothing the expensive option. Your deal is not dead, it's politically stuck. And the seller who learns to read the politics, instead of panicking and slashing the price, is the one who closes the deal everyone else writes off. So if this changed how you see your quiet deals, do me a favor. Go look at the one deal you'd written off this quarter. Ask which of those three places it's actually stuck in. I think you'll be surprised. And if you want a deeper breakdown on how to handle the CFO specifically, because I swear most of these jams happen, watch the video right here. I'll see you in that one. Happy selling, and if you like the content, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.